Hello world of YouTube, and welcome to a breakdown of my Spotify Wrapped, something that I have done for the last couple of years. Last year I actually made it a comparison to the year prior's Wrapped, and I figured I'd do the same this year. We're going to put 2020 against 2021 via exclusively what I spun on Spotify, because like most people who listen to music, I listen to music on a plethora of other platforms. I also listen to stuff on vinyl. I listen to stuff on YouTube. When I'm with my girlfriend, usually she listens to the radio. So I listen to music pretty much everywhere else, just like everyone else. But my Spotify stuff, let's break it down. Now, when looking at 2019 versus 2020, they didn't focus on certain things that the other one did. This year was the same. 2021 decided to focus on different things than 2020. So you'll see me not talk about certain things like new artists because they didn't talk about how many new artists I listened to this year. They also didn't do the decades breakdown or the song that I listened to before it got really big. But I'll get to the stuff that this year focused on in a minute. Instead, I'm going to talk about the comparison of the stats between the 2 years. The real title of the video, as it were. But I was kind of upset that they didn't talk about how many new artists I listened to, because I really like that feature from 2019 and 2020. I like knowing how many new artists I discovered as opposed to just binging the older stuff that I always binge throughout a year's time or make videos about that isn't new, you know what I mean? And the one thing that they both had that it started with showing off was how many artists overall I did listen to. And this year I actually listened to fewer artists than I did last year. This year I only listened to 622. Last year I listened to 643. So that was kind of interesting. My genres were all over the fucking map because last year my top three were similar to my top three in 2019. Hip-hop, rock, and pop. And then I had alt-metal and alt-hip-hop rounding out the bottom of 2020's list. But this year, my list went all over. It had a huge switch up. I was purely shifting into the alternative world in 2021 because my top genre was alt hip-hop. My second spot was alt-metal, then alt-rock, then prog metal, and then indie rock. Now, the prog metal kind of makes sense because I had gotten a larger influx of like prog metal requests this year. So I have been spinning a lot more prog metal broadly. Plus some prog metal bands that I like did drop new records, so that made a lot of sense. And the indie rock, like I said, I'm usually always spinning something in the indie realm. But to see alt hip-hop, alt metal, and alt rock all take the top three spot actually kind of blew my mind a little bit. In a year where I focused on covering pop music by having four, well granted one of them was pop punk, but I had three things in the pop realm, whether it be alt pop and indie pop or, you know, just straight top 40 music. They were nowhere to be seen on this list, which was crazy. I was very alternative in 2021, I guess, so that's cool. As far as the genre breakdown, I actually listened to more genres this year than I did last year. I was too busy diving into the alt-rock realm, dude. That was my year, I guess. But last year, I listened to 290 genres, and this year, I only listened to 110. Again, didn't tell me how many new genres I listened to, which was kind of a bummer. But it was a very comforting year, I would say. I would kind of just throw out there. But yeah, 110 genres this year. That was kind of an interesting sort of difference between the two to me. Now, as for my top song, last year my top song was Night of the Long Knives by Everything Everything, because I had made a couple videos talking about it. And this year, it was actually a current song. It was a song that came out this year. And while it wasn't the song I thought was going to be the number one from this year, because of how much I know I've spun what ended up being the number two song, my number one most spun song of 2021 was Buzzcut. Who let the dope boys out? By Brockhampton and Danny Brown. A fantastic song. I talked about it in the Roadrunner review a little bit. I talked about it in the Danny Brown features video. I do really love Buzzcut. I think it's a fantastic tune. After I saw that it was at my number one, I did listen to it another like 5-6 times yesterday. I think it's a bop. I think it's fantastic. I think it's easily one of Brockhampton's best songs. So I'm not surprised. But when it comes to my top 5 this year, just to briefly talk about my top 5 from last year, it was Night of the Long Knives by Everything Everything, which made a lot of sense. Worlds to Run by Bus Driver Milo and Anderson .Paak made sense. The Big Crit track, I've Been Waiting, I was kind of surprised by, being that song as opposed to a different song from Crit Was Here, but it was still a bop. Thank You by Busta Rhymes, and then the only song from last year that was on my top 5 was Algorithm, which is insane. But this year, my top 5 still only has 2 songs from this year in it, but they're at least in the 1 and 2 spot. It was Buzzcut by Brockhampton, and then the song that I thought I spun more, just because I've listened to this song a lot, is My Life by J. Cole featuring 21 Savage and Murray. Because I fucking love this song. Like, this is one of my favorite songs of the year. It's going to be high on my top 20 of the year list. Spoilers for that list. But yeah, My Life is a fucking great song. I think Cole and Savage work well together, and it's gotten heavy rotation this year for me from it. Then Jeannie Becomes a Mom by Caroline Rose, one of my songs of the year that it came out. It's still growing to be one of my favorite songs of all time. I really love Jeannie Becomes a Mom. I think it's an incredible song. Black Balloons by Denzel Curry, another one of his best. Not just from Taboo, but that he's made in general. I think it's a great tune. And then Maybe I'll Come Down by Soul Coughing, because I talked about El Oso, and then I kept spinning El Oso, because I really love El Oso. I think it's a great record, and Maybe I'll Come Down is a song that I know I've spun a lot this year, because I've been in it, and that's the best embodiment of my year. Soul Coughing, rounding out the top 5 songs of the year. My top artist of the year last year was A$AP Rock. Not a big surprise. I was listening to a lot of his stuff last year. I really love A$AP Rock in general. You guys probably already know that. But he was on my top 1. I was in his top 1% last year. Now, my top artist this year was Gojira. Also made sense. I listened to a lot of Gojira this year. Before listening to my discography review, I was already heavily binging their stuff because they had Fortitude come out, so I was just in Gojira mania. I was listening to a lot of their stuff because I really love the music that they make. I was in the top 4% of their fan base of listening to them on Spotify. And the song I spun the most was Toxic Garbage Island, with 614 minutes spent with that song. I listened to it a lot this year. I know I did. I put it in a playlist. Again, when I was listening to Way of All Flesh, it's early in the record, and I just would repeat it sometimes because it's one of their best riffs. It's a good song. My rounded out top 5 of last year: A$AP Rock, Everything Everything, Big Crit, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Clipping. The Chili Peppers were a big surprise for me, but also not. That made sense. That top 5 made more sense than this year, because I still get a lot of rotation out of those artists. Maybe not the Chili Peppers as much. I was doing a lot of Chili Peppers content last year. But my top 5 this year, in a year where I spun MF Doom so fucking much. I've been in MF Doom mania this year. I've listened to so much of his stuff across all of his projects. He's not even in my top 5. My top 5 this year was Blink-182 at number 5, which was also shocking because I really mostly listened to Blink-182 for the California Redacted. I didn't think I listened to that Redacted that much, but maybe I did. Then the Beatles, which in tandem with the Redacted I did, I was spinning the Beatles a lot this year in my personal time, so it kind of made sense to me. Also, that White Album Redacted was huge, so to sit with that multiple times, I could see that racking up my artist ping number, you know what I mean? But then number 3, Logic. I literally, I listened to Bobby Tarantino 3, but most of my spinning with Logic this year was with the Bobby Tarantino 1 and 2 tapes because I did the Redacted. I mean, I do like that Redacted. I think that it's a really good, organization of those songs, but, I didn't think I listened to it that much. I really didn't. I didn't think I listened to it more than MF Doom anyway, because I sat with a lot of MF Doom this year. But then my number 2 was also Everything Everything, because I still really love their music, and I've been listening to a lot of their discography this year as a whole, just indulging in a band that I really, really love. And then my number 1 was Gojira, because, pain is killing me. But that's going to do it for the statistical portion of this video, about talking about, my comparisons number-wise between last year and this year. Because now I'm going to talk about the change-up, the big shift of focus they made as far as this year versus last year. Because last year, they did the whole decade thing, they did the song you found before everybody else thing. This year, they decided to focus on building an aesthetic, building a vibe, and they did that in 2 parts. One of them, they sort of made a soundtrack for your life as if it were for a movie, and the other part, they did this audio aura where they talked about the tone of a lot of the music you listen to throughout the year, which I thought was really interesting. But we're going to talk about the soundtrack first, and then we're going to get to the audio aura. As far as the soundtrack is considered, they had 3 sort of stages they set verbally. They had your opening credits theme, the song playing as you proclaim your love in the rain, and the song playing as you defeat the ancient vengeful spirit. Now, my opening credits song, which I'm assuming is a song that I played a lot earlier in the year, that's why it's there, was Up on the Ladder by Radiohead, a song that was in my January playlist for the Patreon, if I'm not mistaken, and I did listen to it a lot during that time of the year because I think it's a fucking bop. But does it work as an opening credits theme? Let's put that to the test. Yeah, I think that kind of fits. I think that that's not a bad opening credits song. Now, as for the song playing as you proclaim your love in the rain, I don't know where they put this in their algorithm. I don't know what their algorithm decided to use as the template for this. I don't know if it was something I was just spinning a lot in the springtime, but the song they picked was The Robots by Kraftwerk. Now, let's see if this fits a song of someone proclaiming their love in the rain.
We are the robots. We are the robots.
I don't think it does. I don't think the robots fit that particular vibe. Now, as for the last one, they got it right with the last one. I'm assuming they picked a song whose, like, energetic profile was high and the tone was aggressive, because the song they picked was Toxic Garbage Island by Gojira. Now, let's go ahead and put that to the test. Yeah, that checks out big time. That was great, though. I love that. I think that was a really interesting thing that they decided to pick. Now, as for my audio aura, what style, generally profile-wise, music I listen to, it does kind of fit. I'm not gonna lie. It was hype and focused. I feel like that's not a bad descriptor of me personally. What do you think? Let me know if that fits in the comments down below. And also just let me know what you thought of this video. Give it a like as well if you enjoyed my breakdown of my Spotify Wrapped, if you enjoyed with the entries on there. And let me know your Spotify Wraps in the comments down below as well. If you like this and you want to see more of my music, gaming, and general nerdery content, be sure to subscribe. Special thanks to my patrons if you want to join the ranks to get early access to content, exclusive content, or to help drive the community. It's linked in the description. Today, going up there should be my update where I break down my monthly sort of plans for the month tentatively, because as we all know, life finds a way to get in the middle of things, but I do my best to keep the ship chugging along here, and I hope that you enjoy what I have in store to close out 2021. You guys have good days, lives, and situations. I have been Viral Rack, and I'll see you another day.